Ahoy! Today's video is about the myth level system recently introduced into the European version of the game. Myth level system is a new endgame content aimed at the people who have already reached level 200 on their characters, then work their way up to the end of the 100 overall levels and feel like all the XP they would gain farming daily dungeons goes to waste. It is also infinitely repeatable, so you won't have to worry about running out of things to do anytime soon. To unlock the whole mid-level system, you must complete a simple quest which requires that you talk to a few NPCs. Once that is done, you can open up the mid-level UI with the icon just under your battle style icon or with the default hotkey Shift+Y. Now before we get into that, let me tell you how to obtain myth XP. It's not as simple as normal XP because only specific dungeons award that. You cannot gain myth XP from fields or quests at this point in the game. Here's a full list of all the dungeons where you can get it, but if you open up the dungeon entrance window, you will see an icon next to the listed dungeon if it's possible to gain myth XP in there. I'd like to note that myth XP seemingly works in a vastly different way compared to normal XP and overload XP. You gain significantly more myth XP from everything you hit than you did XP or overload XP. Earlier, I made a video about which place is the best to farm for myth XP, to which you can find a link in this video's description. The only thing I'd like to add to that is dungeon boosting is your best friend when farming it. But if you're not a fan of farming XP the old-fashioned way, you can use elixirs from Guild Shop or the exchange machine. And in the upcoming updates there's going to be some similar reward for finishing certain dungeons, but that's still not available in my server. So what's the point of getting myth levels? Well, if you open up the UI again, you can see a counter for your myth points right here. Every time you level up you get points. These points can be spent on the skills down here. There are three paths you can choose from. The top one is mainly focused on defense, the bottom one is mainly offensive, and the middle is a mixture of both. So the slots that are marked with a plus sign are the ones you can currently fill. Unfortunately, the developers introduced a gambling mechanism into this system too, but hey, it wouldn't be Cabal without it, right? So when you select a slot, you can see the list of possible effects you can gain and their minimum and maximum values. Every time you fill one of those, the game chooses a random effect from that list with a random amplitude between the minimum and the maximum. There are certain special slots that have higher amplitudes and others that have a narrower list of effects. Usually those take more myth points to fill though, but generally as you progress over the tree you will have to spend more and more points. Now you may see some of these lock icons with a number under them. Each time you fill a slot, the effect you gain is described with a holy power value to give you an idea of how powerful that is. All of the power values of the filled slots are summed up and shown right here. This number must reach the amount under the lock icon to unlock that section before you can progress further. But if you're as unfortunate as me, you will fill all your slots and still not get it high enough for that. In that case, you can simply farm a few more levels and retry a slot that you don't like. Retrying any of the slots only takes myth points, but there is a chance that the new option you get is even worse than the one you reset. For these cases, you can use an item called Fragment of Memory. Those have a small chance to be dropped by the last bosses of certain dungeons, of which there's a full list in the patch notes. Anyways, so I finally reached the point where I could go on as well. But I think you can already see that the maximum 100 myth levels will not even nearly be enough to fill everything, let alone reset them for good options. At the beginning of the video I said this system was infinitely repeatable, and the reason for that is resurrection. Once you get the myth level 100, you can press this button to reset your myth level to 1 and start again. If you're the rich type who can afford to spend a bunch of false gems, you can hasten the resurrection and use some gems to do it at as low as level 95. Every time you resurrect, you will be given some fragments of memory, and after every 5th resurrection you gain bonus myth points. However, there's a penalty too. Each resurrection will increase the required myth XP per level by 1%. This is kept at 500%, which I know is little comfort if you already have to spend 5 times more effort on leveling up, but hopefully by then you'll have an amazing myth skill tree. Two last things to mention. First, as you gain more holy power, you will reach new grades, each of which adds some pretty good passive bonuses to your character. And there are some new achievements added to the game as well that are unlocked by resurrecting multiple times, which also add some decent effects. So all in all, myth levels can greatly improve your character's offensive and defensive capabilities, but you will certainly have to work a lot for this improvement. As usual, if you have any relevant questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments. Ahoy!